Hi guys, thanks for watching the Social Life. Today on Managing It All, I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple questions I've been getting about how to start and where to start, and how to break down and chunk your starting points. And so this video is for Kecia, Adrian, and Deborah. And you all are part of the Socialife Tribe, and I've seen your questions, and so I just wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit. And probably applies more to Kecia and Deborah at this point because they're really just starting out, and they've asked how to know where to start and like what they should start with first and all these things. And so I don't want you guys to get flustered over how to start. If you're starting anything, right, like if you're thinking about starting a for-profit or a nonprofit, whichever it is, you want to start out just number one, just day by day. Have your idea and then think about what's the smallest thing you can start with and start from that. So as an example, if you have an idea and it's already well crafted and you see your vision and everything, you know exactly where you're going and what you want to do, you might be ready to start with a fiscal sponsor. And what that means is that you can come in and you can talk to someone and say, hey, my program fits with your organization because X, Y, and Z. And then you can watch my should you have a fiscal sponsorship video, and that would talk to you all about what a fiscal sponsorship is, how it works, some of the things you ought to bring when you're going to meet with a fiscal sponsor, because you will need to have like a plan laid out, and you don't want to be a burden on anyone. You want to be more of a help and basically like an extra arm or an extra program that's going to help their programs do well. So I will make another video specifically on fiscal sponsors and all of that, so I can go a little bit deeper into that type of thing. But my point in telling you that is, if you're at a point where you have the full idea and you know where you want to start, but you just don't have the 501c3 yet, and you want to start like now, then start at the fiscal sponsorship, even if you just decide you want to start it as a project. So one of the questions Deborah was asking is, when would I know when to leave the fiscal sponsor? One of the things I recommend is when you start with a fiscal sponsor, you're straight up and you talk to them, only you know that answer, right? Only you know if you want to be in total control of your nonprofit and you want to make this into a full-fledged nonprofit, or you want to test out the idea as a project, and so you want to go under a oh my God, I can talk. And you want to go under a fiscal sponsor so that you can actually test the programs, test the idea, and see if it works, pivot, all those types of things. But you want to be able to start advertising for those funds. Then I would say that you should stay with the fiscal sponsor as long as you need to figure those things out and flesh those things out. And so I would say probably about a year would be a good amount of time for people to get used to your name, for people to understand what it is you do, for you to make some pivots and some changes, to test out your project and make sure that it's a viable idea that can move on and scale and become a nonprofit. So that's the fiscal sponsorship side if you were starting there. Now, if you're starting where you don't really know what you want to do, you don't know exactly how you want to do it, I would say just to start. So for instance, you might see videos on YouTube where people go out and they cut the hair for the homeless. Well, they may not be a full-fledged nonprofit yet. They're just like advertising what they're doing, and they're marketing, their purpose and their mission and their vision of what they see. And you can do that as well. If people want to donate to you, you can say, you can certainly donate here. We are not a 501c3 yet, but we are on our way to becoming a 501c3, or if you've already submitted the paperwork for the 501c3, you could say you're 501c3 eligible, but that just lets people know that you are moving in the direction of a nonprofit, and basically that they're donating to you at their own risk, because no one is keeping tabs on where that money is going, or if you're actually doing what you say you're going to be doing with the funds. So those are the types of things that you just have to be aware of, and it's a very tricky time if you decide to do that. At least with a fiscal sponsor, you have a fiscal agent, so someone who can take those funds for you and give you the IRS protection, the tax protection and exemption that both you and your sponsors or donors would like. So I think it's really truly all about transparency, really all about letting people know where you are in that journey. And when I say break down into bite-sized pieces, I mean, if you're doing, let's go back to the homeless example, if you're doing the hair cutting, right, then maybe your initial baby step is, I'm going to find a place that works with the homeless, so I have access to the people that I need, my clients that you're going to need, right? And let me see if, there's anything I should know. You're gathering information. You might start with just that, right? About working with the homeless. Let me see if there's anything I need to know about working with the homeless. That's part of your gathering your information. Decided that I was going to present the idea to people that I had talked to a little bit, or that I thought would be very supportive of this idea, or that I felt comfortable with, So I had about 20 people at my first presentation, and I just created a PowerPoint slideshow that just talked about what my vision was. It talked about my mission. It talked about how I was planning to carry out that mission, which did change later and still evolves at this late date. But this is something that if no one's ever done it before, then you're learning. It's a journey. So don't take this as something like, when you come out to share your idea, it has to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And you have to be okay with that, because this is you're testing and you're pivoting and you're changing and you're gathering information, and then with that information you're changing it again. So that's okay. So I just want you guys to don't worry so much about if it's perfect or if everything is all lined out for years to come. Just start with whatever your mission is, and do the one thing that you can do to start moving on that mission. Okay, so if that one thing that you can do is take a pair of clippers and talk to the city and see if there are any laws that you'll be breaking by going out and cutting someone's hair and recording it, and getting their signature to make sure they're okay being on YouTube or wherever you're planning on putting this. Get all your legal ducks in a row to make sure that you're doing things correctly. Talk to community members, talk to people who are willing to give you that information, or wherever you need to get that information from. Go there, get all of that, do some research. Once you know that you won't be breaking any laws by carrying out your mission, then you just start. Now, if you're someone that maybe is planning on starting a daycare or something, or a day center for youth, let's say, and you need more startup resources, like maybe you need a building or something, or you need something like that, then you'll want to start procuring in-kind donations to you, or someone who just understands what you're trying to do and wants to help you get it started. But where people go wrong on this is, if you're not already starting the process of getting your 501c3, like you don't know that that's already what you want to do, then yes, it's tough to get people to jump on board. But this is also a good time where if you know of another nonprofit that's doing something similar or works with kids, and you want to bring your programs into that, then you talk to that organization and say, hey, would you guys be open to working with me as a project and allowing me to come under your 501c3 as a project? And then there's a whole host of information and things that you guys would discuss. So the main thing that I'm trying to say to you is, it'll depend on which way you're going as far as what direction you should take as far as a fiscal sponsor or not. But at different stages, there are different things you can be doing. You could be researching and figuring out all the things you need to figure out before you even approach a fiscal sponsor. If you aren't sure if you want a fiscal sponsor, but you do want feedback on your mission and vision, you can set up a presentation for people that are surrounding you and that you believe would support you, not monetarily, just support your idea. Because if people support your idea, then generally they will start also sharing that idea and then also talking to other people about it. And that's how your idea will spread. And then you can start looking at how do you want to market it? How do you want to do certain things? So just to kind of weave all that back together, when I started Launchpad, I did my presentation. People said, hey, I want to be part of that. I want to be on your board. I want to be part of whatever it is that you're doing. You just tell me what you need and I'll help you. A lot of people started out that way, okay? And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start with one kid. I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm going to start with one kid. I got a referral from a mentoring place that I knew of, and they gave me a child that was really in need. And I said, okay, I asked that kid, what does that kid want to do? He wanted to play soccer. So I went to the soccer league and I talked to them about what I was doing. And I told them this is what I plan to do. And they told me that they could work with me. Great. Now he needed his equipment. So then I, thought, how much is the equipment? I found out how much it was. Then I went to pick up my son one day, and my daycare provider just handed me a $100 bill. And I said, oh, it won't be tax deductible. And she said, I'm okay with that. And people will say they're okay with that, but you have to show them that you have a vision and that you have a mission and that you're going to accomplish this vision or mission no matter what. And things will come your way. Like, it is crazy how that works, but it does work and it does happen. So I hope that was enough to kind of quell your fears a little bit. Because I know it is daunting to just get out there and get started. But when I say just start, I truly mean that. And I mean just start with one piece of it. So if you have a program you're trying to start, like, you're trying to start maybe, self-esteem in girls or something, right? Then maybe you create a curriculum and you go over it with maybe some teachers or a psychologist or whoever you think would be able to give you good feedback on that curriculum. And if the curriculum sounds good, then you can take it to maybe one school and see if you could give the curriculum to that school, or what the process is, or wherever you're trying to go. Or you can go to a youth center and see if you can try the curriculum out on those kids and get the feedback from those kids, and then start your program from there, and then move to a fiscal sponsor. So try to look at how can I break this down as small as possible to just start. That doesn't mean that that's going to be the official start of your program. Doesn't mean you have to have a full-fledged name and everything. It's just that you're testing and you're researching and you're getting feedback, and it's this whole feedback loop that keeps everything moving. And then you gain momentum and people understand what you're doing and they share it with others. And there's this whole process that comes around about everything, or there's this whole process that comes about from just doing that feedback loop. So maybe that's what it should start as, like a feedback loop is just the actual term that I've been looking for to tell you guys to just start. So just start with that. And then once you're there and you have to make a decision on, should I be a fiscal sponsor? Should I have a fiscal sponsor? Or could this be bigger? Talk to some organizations, talk to some CEOs of some nonprofits and some executive directors of nonprofits. They're usually more than willing to help you, especially if it's something similar or someone you trust, and they have an idea of how nonprofits work and what your community can bear, and even then, I mean, you still just have to make the decision to just go for it, So anyway, I hope that helps you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.